At the 2022 Oscars, Will Smith walked up on stage and slapped Chris Rock for a joke he made about Jada. And it made me really sad. I'm Brianna. My channel is about entrepreneurship, but it's also about my perspective because I'm learning. I have a unique perspective on a lot of things. And my perspective is usually nuanced and complex and not just based on what everybody else's opinion is based on. So I'm finding it valuable to share it. I want to help people to expand their thought and not be limited to your initial perception of things, because I think there's always more to a story. And I think sometimes what we get caught up on discussing or analyzing is often not really beneficial to anyone. So last night, Chris Rock was presenting, or he was about to present an award. He was making some jokes, and he said to Jada that he can't wait for G.I. Jane 2 to come out. And so she rolls her eyes. Chris, or Will, laughed, you can see. And then Chris is like, hey, it wasn't that bad. And it wasn't that bad. I do think it was an innocuous joke. But even still, we see Will Smith walk up on stage, and it looked like a staged punch. And then the sound goes out, and we could see Will talking, but we couldn't hear it. Later, there were other versions, like in other languages, where they were dubbing over the speech anyway, so you could hear what he said, which was, keep my wife's name out of your effing mouth. But the fact that he laughed at first is just, it really made it unclear if it was real or not. So immediately my husband went to Twitter and was getting people's responses. I really thought it was a joke. I really wanted to believe it was a joke because it kind of otherwise is a damper on the evening. And I was convinced it was until Will got up and gave his speech. And at that point, I knew that he felt he had made a mistake. And I also feel like it was a very complex moment for him, because I think he felt regret, but then he also is being applauded for, you know, doing such amazing work. And I think he very strongly identified with Richard Williams, the father of Venus and Serena Williams. I just think that there was a lot going on there, but he apologized to the attendees. He apologized to the Academy. He did not apologize to Chris Rock. And he said he was protecting his wife. And I know that he was talking about how he protected the women in the movie. And I think, you know, he's really just like, he was operating out to protect Black women, but he also recognized that he acted out. And he mentioned that Denzel Washington pulled him aside, and he said, when you're at your highest is when the devil is at his busiest. And that really, I don't know, for some reason, considering Denzel stepping in as a guide or a father figure is what really, really moved me. Like that, I did cry. I cried a lot last night. I've been feeling a bit sensitive, I guess. I also cried when Encanto won, and I was like really trying not to make it obvious I was crying sitting next to my husband. But I cried over that. I cried during Will's speech. I cried when Jessica Chastain was accepting her award, and she was talking about, she referenced Will talking about love, and she talked about Tammy Faye, because I cried when they showed the excerpt, the preview of the movie, or excerpt of the movie. I think the movie was Tammy Faye, about Tammy Faye Baker. And it touched me that Tammy Faye was, in the 80s, I believe it was, like an advocate for acceptance of gay people in the Christian community. So I was crying a lot. But at the end of the night, like when I was in the shower, what was making me cry was thinking about Denzel standing in the gap for Will, and being right there to say, I'm here for you, I support you, and I'm also going to correct you. And I also heard that after he talked to Will, he went and knelt beside Jada to give her support. So I feel sad that it happened. I don't think discussing if it was right or wrong is a useful conversation, because it's just, it's all, right and wrong is subjective, and it's always nuanced. I think he was obviously wrong for slapping Chris, but he was right for defending his wife. I also want to say that me not addressing your specific opinion does not mean that my opinion is in opposition to your opinion. It means my opinion has nothing to do with your opinion. So before you comment in your opinion that is completely irrelevant of mine, like, just don't or do, because that's apparently how you get engagement. But I just find it frustrating that people can't tolerate another opinion or another perspective without viewing it through the filter of their own perspective or in defense of their own perspective. And I just think my perspective is probably entirely different, so it's gonna aggravate me if you respond with your one-dimensional take. I had commented that it all made me very sad on a post in Facebook, and somebody was like, F that. I'm like, me being sad that this happened has nothing to do with whether or not Chris shouldn't have said, like, it just, how I feel is how I feel. But of course, people, it's just, you get so wrapped up in your own opinion. But it made me really sad for several reasons. One, I mean, it put a damper on the night. It affected everybody. And I was obviously very emotionally engaged in the show. So it made me sad to have this disturbance. But I also felt like his response was very much an indication of his human condition, and also a depiction of the human condition of a lot of Black people. I immediately felt like that. I immediately felt like Black people are often put in these positions where we take so much, you try to keep it cool, you take it on the chin, and then there's something that makes you crack, or something that it kind of forces your hand. Like, he felt that he had to defend Jada in that moment, even though I really do think that the joke was innocuous. Maybe they had a conversation before about her feeling very insecure about her hair, even though she looked gorgeous. Honestly, I thought, I mean, yeah, she was annoyed, but I hope she felt beautiful, because she really was. And I hope she felt beautiful enough not to take those kind of comments personally. But maybe they had a conversation about Will not defending her in the past. You know, maybe she felt like maybe he felt bad for laughing and not being in tune with her, and he was just projecting that onto Chris. There could just be so many reasons he did it, but it felt to me like we go through a lot as Black people. We have a lot of instances where we have to just take it and we have to just be cool. He could have just been cool, let it slide. But I think when you do that so much, you end up snapping. And it isn't always proportionate. I didn't think that his reaction was proportionate, obviously, but it may have been proportionate to what he was feeling on the inside, and proportionate to what he's been experiencing in these last few years. So we've got, in the last few months, I guess once his book came out, people are still criticizing him for his relationship with Jada, and him saying there was no infidelity. And for some reason, everybody else feels like they can still say that he's wrong, even though it doesn't affect any of us, and it's him in his relationship. So people are like, oh, that's not infidelity. Well, no, it's not. If they agree that this is what is going to happen, then that's what's happened. And if it's not infidelity to him, it's not infidelity to us. It shouldn't be. But he's having to defend his marriage. He's having to defend himself. He's getting roasted, and honestly, largely by the Black community. He's been dragged for at least 2 years since the entanglement situation. And his wife has been dragged. And it's like, he obviously still wants to be attached to her, because I think they would have divorced a long time ago. I think that's why the entanglement happened, because Jada, she said she never wanted to be married. She didn't want traditional marriage. And she also indicated, I can't remember the full context or conversation, but she indicated that Will was putting himself first and they were sacrificing because of what he wanted, which I can very much relate to as a former military spouse. And I think the consolation was, okay, I'm gonna do me. And when they had that conversation about the entanglement, he had said something to the effect of, she can do whatever she needs to do to feel complete, and that's what she did. But we insert ourselves in their situation. He's being dragged, he's being made fun of, and she's being dragged and criticized. And I think that's a lot of pressure. So we get to this very prestigious award show. Yet another Black person makes a comment about his wife, which, you know, is innocuous, but I think it was like indirect enough that his guard wasn't as up, maybe, and he acted on it, he lashed out. But to me, it just felt like every time a Black person acts out, and it's not always about that one situation, but it's about oppression, slavery, broken families, generational trauma, racism. It's about all of these things, and then it comes out in a way that seems unrelated. And it really, really made me sad that it was against another Black man. And I feel like that's typically how it plays out in the Black community. We kill each other every day, and it can be over the stupidest things. Tennis shoes, somebody saying the wrong thing. These girls, the what is it, the famous twins or the infamous twins or something, in the last month shot some girls at a park because one girl said, I don't know, it was just so stupid, but they did that because they felt like they had to defend themselves. And so, like, the impetus for when they actually do it, it becomes irrelevant. But they were very proud of that. But anyway, it just felt very much a snapshot of the human condition, and it doesn't matter how successful you are. He won an Oscar last night. It doesn't matter how successful you are. You do not stop being Black. You were always Black. You were always subject to the Black condition. And that's what happened. He had a moment where his cup floweth over. He directed it at another Black man. Another Black man stepped in to father him. And that's the part I think I was like maybe projecting on, because I've been going to therapy just to talk about my dad and feeling very fatherless. And so the fact that Denzel stepped in to be a father in that moment, also knowing that Will didn't have a great relationship with his father, to me just felt like all of us suffering from not having those values instilled in us, not having someone defend us, not having someone in our corner, even through adulthood, to like keep pushing us forward. You know, I think that we need our dads, and a lot of us in the Black community do not have them. The other way I feel I'm projecting a bit is, I had a friend a couple years ago who told me in an email that, and this was like completely extraneous, like unrelated to what actually happened. She just extrapolated all of this. I did not make any comments that actually supported anything she said. I just think that she was a terrible friend and I was not handling it, and everybody would say she's jealous, but maybe that's what it was. But anyway, she said, "You have once again sided with whiteness and privilege." And I was talking about this weekend because I was talking about something else, and I mentioned something else to another friend, and I was like, oh, we're not friends anymore. And she wanted to know why, so I'm like going through the story, and I pulled that email up, and it pissed me off all over again, because she really tried to say that I sided with whiteness once again and privilege. And I'm like, just because my husband is white, that does not mean I am not Black. If anything, it makes me more aware that I am Black. It doesn't matter who I'm with. When I go to the doctor, I'm still Black. When I walk into a restaurant, I'm still Black. But people, for some reason, her, a close friend, seem to think that Blackness stops. And Will Smith really demonstrating something that happens every day in the Black community was like further triggering this feeling like you don't stop being Black at a different level. Like you don't stop being Black because you're famous, because you're rich, because you are surrounded by white people. Like you are still Black, and we're still subject to the trauma and the baggage of Black people in America. I think those are all of my thoughts. I just wanted to share them because it's always more complex to me. I just don't find whether or not it's right or wrong to be valuable conversation here. Sure, Chris Rock, it was comedians make jokes at other people's expenses, whether they should do that or not. I mean, that's up to you. That's up to them. And yeah, he made a movie about good hair and then made fun of Jada about her hair. But he also didn't. He just commented on her overall appearance. He didn't tease her for not being able to grow hair. And, you know, that's just kind of besides the point, but we get so wrapped up in those conversations that we stop really learning anything from the situation. And it is always nuance. Also, I saw a post in one of the book clubs I'm in, book club Facebook groups, and somebody was like, who went to order the book after they saw what happened? And then one person was like, I was gonna get it and now I'm not, because somebody had a human experience, heaven forbid. And I just, you know, I also have had an experience like that. It was like my first or second holiday with my husband when we were dating, and he used to make me feel abandoned a lot when it came to his family. And something was going on, like the whole weekend I had been trying to be cool and just like not show that he was bothering me or I was uncomfortable or I was stressed, because I feel stressed with my white family, honestly. It's better now, it's been 10 years, but I do feel stressed when I'm in Oklahoma and with a bunch of white people that have never had a close relationship with a Black person. But anyway, so we're playing this game and my boyfriend at the time was like making comments and, you know, just pissing me off. And I lashed out at everybody. I was like, y'all don't want me to win, or I don't know what I said, but then now I also have this burden of having lashed out as a Black person, but they didn't see everything I was dealing with and all the stress and then the other 22 years of being Black. Like, they didn't see all that. So I related to him in that way as well. I also hated that it had to interfere with what would have been probably a moment I cried at anyway, for a completely different reason, him winning Best Actor. I hate that our behavior sometimes, provoked by all of these other things, takes away from our majesty. I said I cried at Encanto, or did I say that? I may have said it before my husband yelled and interrupted my video, but I cried when Encanto won Best Animated Picture, because I feel like just the specialness and the beauty of so many people, getting all these people in the right place at the right time, in the right time in their lives. It's just the alignment. It's almost divine to me. That movie means so much to culture right now. I've watched it a ton of times. I was at a birthday party, a little Black boy this weekend, and like dads were singing. We don't talk about Bruno and stuff. So it's just meant a lot to this community, to us as people, and it's so special, and I hope to experience that in my life. Like, everything lines up at the right time. So I probably would have enjoyed that moment, celebrating Will Smith, as I enjoyed the person who won, I think, best costume for Cruella. I was like getting emotional at her too, because these people work all their lives. She was older. They work all their lives and they get to that. They finally get to, you know, right place, right time. And then as well as people are gifted like Billie Eilish and her brother Phineas, and they get celebrated as well. So I just feel very inspired by that. And I would have liked to just enjoy that moment for what it was, but instead it was tinged with regret and sorrow and feeling bad for him and feeling bad for everyone there, and just hoping for healing and forgiveness, and that we band together and move forward and not condemn each other for our wounds, you know. All right, well, if you want to comment on something relevant to what I said, please leave me a comment. If you like my video, please give me a like, and if you like me, please subscribe. I will see you in the next one.